Hey, what's up, everybody? Michael D'Angelo with Silence Media. And now, everything I say and do is account of what I remember and what's happening today with what I have gone through. I'm humming and hawing about doing this video, and I'm seriously humming and hawing about doing this video. I did one a while back concerning Lake Alice Hospital, and ever since then I've had a lot of attention, and it's not something I wanted. Like, I do want to get the message out there that this shit did happen. Right? This stuff really happened. But on one hand, I had people saying, oh, you want fame and shit like that. You don't get fame out of what I went through. Come on, wake up. You really don't get fame out of what I went through. There is no, for me anyway, just my personal belief, there is no amount of money, no amount of fame, no amount of fortune or wealth or anything like that in the world. There is nothing that can undo what has already been done. God himself couldn't come down and turn back time, people, from what has already been done. So please stop with the bullshit about you want fame and you want this and you want that. No, I don't. I don't want any of it. What I do want to do is let people know what is real and what is not. Okay? The New Zealand government, and we're not talking just the doctors, the psychiatrists, the psychologists, the nurses. When we're talking about the New Zealand government started this project, started Lake Alice Hospital. The New Zealand government. They knew everything, the psychiatrists, the doctors, the politicians of the time, the police, the nurses. They knew what they were doing. The Department of Social Welfare. One thing I learned when I left the lake was that the Department of Social Welfare is actually probably the most powerful agency in the whole of New Zealand, because they could take a child that was not registered under the system and they could form that child to whatever way they wanted. Do you know children were bred in Lake Alice Hospital? I know that out of the 12 that I grew alongside, there was 12 of us children in the farmhouse wing. Many came and many left. Many came and many left. They didn't leave willingly. I only ever knew of one boy who would come. He was always older. He would come. and he would be moved to a different villa, and then he'd come back, and then he'd be moved to a different villa. And the reason for that, and I found out only afterwards, when I sat and had a conversation with him, that his father was part of the oversight committee for Lake Ellis Hospital. I never knew the boy's name. I never knew his father. But that's what he told me. A lot of people don't realise, when I left the lake, I tried everything to get my records. There are no records for Test 7. When I was given another name, there are no records for that name either. When I went into Wanganui, I was about 16, 17. And one day I was trying to get a flat. And I didn't know anything. All I know is I needed to live somewhere that wasn't in and out of Alfie Spittle's place. I'd taken off from a home. I wanted to be on my own. And someone said to me, go up to the Department of Social Welfare. So I did. And it was, you had Victoria Street, and then you went up past Bannisters, and then behind that there was this big concrete fucking building. And I went in there, and they turned around and I said to them, I'm Test 7, I was born in Lake Ellis Hospital. All of a sudden I was rushed to a different room. Don't ever talk like that. I was like, don't fucking tell me what to do. That's the sort of kid I was. If you told me what to do, you're going to get fucked over. I didn't care who you were. And that's the sort of attitude I had. Because of how I was, when I was released into homes, I became aware of the society around me. And I really didn't fit into society. I really did not fit into society at all. In fact, I got some ink. And I got the ink all the way back then to hide a mark that was put on me. And I could never understand, but the 12 that I grew up with all got a tattoo. A lot of people didn't realize that we had nothing. We were nobody. We were absolutely nobody in society. When we were let go, and there was only myself and another one that I know of that were actually let go, the rest I knew went into places like Stanford House and other places, and a lot of them were released later on, and I'm just going to say it, they were dealt to. I remember when I was about 13, 14, maybe about 14. I was in the Coromika Road family home, and the foster father. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but just behind here is a slit, and it's being filled in But I used to have a gill behind my head. And the foster father tried to drown me. And he noticed ear. For some reason or other, I was in the toilet and I was looking around and I couldn't breathe, but I was breathing. And the foster father tried to drown me. And he pulled me out and he said, "You're a freak." And he took me to the hospital and he said, "Oh, he's one of those kids." And that's how I was treated. I was one of those kids. And the hospital knew what it meant. Because they strapped me up and then put me in a room and filled it in. And for ages, I had problems breathing. I had problems. I couldn't. The problem is, even now, today, 50 years on, well, 40 something years on, I sit there and if someone turns around and tries to, let's just say, if I can't breathe, for some reason or other, I get a massive ass headache because the ear's trying to escape out of the back of my ear. And right behind it, I have this huge lump where they kind of, I don't know, they messed it up somehow, but they took something from there and they put it down into my ear. And the hospital, when I got to about 22, I went back to the hospital to try and get my records because I'd asked for my records when I was about 20, 21, and I never received them. There was no reply back or anything like that, so I went down to the hospital and I said, "All right, I've already been through the government agencies. I need records, and I know you've got them here, so show me where these fucking records are, and I'm not leaving until I get them." Well, the police turned up, the armed defenders turned up, everybody turned up. I wasn't armed. But I was one of those kids. And back, even then, when I was 21, 22, that's what they called me. I was one of those kids. Turns out there is no record of me. Now, I only know this now because of all the recent stuff that's been happening. I went looking, and I went looking in places a lot of people can't see, but I want to know, so I didn't care. I pulled up Trojanics, my old system, and I went looking, and I can't find anything. Do you know how fucked up that is? I don't exist in New Zealand. I was born here. I was raised here. I went through the system here. The name I have now was made up. Was completely made up. The name I had before was completely made up. The name I had before that was complete. The name I had before, when I was about 28, I made myself. I scored somebody else's passport, and I learned quickly how to work that passport. All my life, I've had a fake name because the government system wouldn't make me a name. So when I left the Crown, boom. It was so easy for me. Now, I'm walking. I'm breathing. I've got this shit in my head from my past life. When I say my past, my childhood. And I'm not there. I'm not on record. I'm not on file. There's nothing about me. I think a lot of people don't seem to click. There's nothing there. According to births, deaths and marriages, I don't exist. According to the New Zealand government, there is nothing there. But gets worse. I'm not the only one. There are 12 kids born in Lake Alice Hospital that went through the same wing as me. Not one of them are there either. Yet I know one of them today, and I've been trying to convince him to come out of hiding, and he's been in hiding all of his life. No, he won't, and I know why. Like me in 92, I was shot at, and that's what this came from. He had his car blown up, his house blown up. They said it was a gang shootout, and he had propane tanks in his, not propane, LPG tanks in his house. He told me he didn't have LPG tanks in his house. They found 4 cylinders of tanks in one area of the house. His house was electric. There was no gas in the house. He's been on the run since he left the Lake Alice, and he never wants to come out of it. He never wants to be in society. Why? Because the system will kill him. The problem with me is I don't shut up. So if the system comes to kill me, then so be it. I don't care. I want the truth. And I'm gonna get the truth sooner or later. But I believe that the people need to know what the New Zealand government is. And I need to know why. I know that there were the other kids that used to come in from other places. I knew about them. I knew about certain people that have turned around and made themselves known about the thing I've known for a long time. And I know about the fame seekers. I know about the people that did the 21 days in Villa 12 and Villa 14 and the young women's unit. I know about those. "11, 12, 13 and 14 were all safe care, young women's, young men's, and older men, adult. I think the young woman and the older woman, as an adult, had 2 different separate, but I don't know. I wasn't a woman, so didn't have thing. But in the safe care, they were kind of mixed. You had men and boys on one side, and then um, uh, children on the other side. And then at the back wing, which is a very disgusting wing, which was my unit it was actually separated from 14. It was pushed right back. It was behind maximum security, but it was in the trees behind, so it was just off a little bit. And I was telling an investigator that back in there was a big, huge lawn that's there, and when I was there was a pond there, and at one stage, let's just say that pond was filled in, and I know what went into that pond. We could see it from the courtyard, and we were made to see it. When I got to about 10, I was put into Villa 14. Not because they wanted me there, they wanted me to go back, but because Villa 14 was a safe care unit. And in that safe care unit, they had a medical department. And that medical department was the medical department for the children. And what they would do is, in that medical department, it wasn't like the chair room. It wasn't dark. It was very lit. Very, very lit. And they would inspect you. And I'd be strapped down with leather straps, and they would inject me. And then they'd put something in my hand to see if I could crush it. And usually it was either something like concrete, or I remember a concrete ball they put in my hand, and I crushed it and just annihilated it. It was like, at 1 minute it was hard, next minute it was just sand. And I kind of liked it. They would give me something and they'd put it in there, and it was like, I remember they put this soft jelly stuff and my hand wouldn't even close. I was hard out trying to close my hand, but whatever they gave me just numbed my hand, that my hand couldn't close. It was like locked. And I was like, what the rubbish is this? Back then I didn't know. Back then I didn't, I was a kid. I didn't think. And this sort of shit went on and on and on and on. And I was only in Villa 4, in that medical unit, for about a month, and then they put me straight back. In the time that I was in that medical unit, I got to see outside, and I'd never seen outside before. I'd never even seen trees. Well, the scary thing was, I saw a big pond. And the reason I say it was scary was because I would see people deliver people to that pond. And I never knew what it was about until after I left the lake. And I've sat on this for a long, long time, trying to work out if it was real or not, if I was just dreaming this shit, but it was constant, over and over and over and over and over, and I now know it's a proper memory. And because it fit in with everything else that happened with me. And it went along a timeline of what happened over years and years of this sort of thing. And I flipped a lid. Today, as an old man, well, as a man getting older, I still can't answer why. Why would people be so sick, so twisted? I could never understand why a government in New Zealand would ever be that twisted and sick. Why the New Zealand government hides this. Why the New Zealand government has never stood up and said Lake Alice was an atrocity and the previous governments were sick bastards and we'd like to apologise to the people. That would be a start. But no government has ever apologised for Lake Alice Hospital. No government has apologised. Yes, we all know about leaks. We all know about this person. We all know about City. I'll just say Siri because I can't say the actual name. We all know about Sturgis. We know about Richards. We know about Collins. We know about Helen Clark. We know all of this stuff, people. But let's look at it. The government as a whole, the creator of Lake Alice Hospital, were the governments at the time, and both of them, both on the left and on the right, both came together and signed in this hospital. The Crown of New Zealand signed in this hospital. Think about it. To date, as a government, has never once stood and apologised to the people. Ever. What happened to the 12 unregistered people, unregistered children born? What happened to the 168 children that vanished? What happened? Maybe the ECT was just a little bit too much in the volume. Maybe the probing, the injections, were just a little bit too much in the syrup. Or maybe the beatings and the rapings were just too much for a child, right? Because kids just don't die, do they? This is why today I say that New Zealand has never ever cared about children. If you have a look through history, the history of New Zealand, starting with the lake and ending even today, child sex trafficking is real. Child trafficking itself is real. It's been happening all over the world. But what you don't know is it all started here in New Zealand. I'm Michael D'Angelo with Silence Media. I know this video is disturbing, and I warn people, this is just my account. I warn you all, this is my account. I cannot find any written or file, and I have looked. I have gone through every firewall that I can possibly think of. Yes, I'm admitting to hacking, but I needed to know. And I can't find anything to say I exist. And that scares me. Because I got many fake names, but I don't have a real name. Again, I'm Michael D'Angelo. Stay safe, be righteous, be well. And if anything, give a fuck about the children. Actually fight for the children. Fight for them. If there's any protest in New Zealand that's worth its weight, it would be to save the children in New Zealand across the world. Otherwise, I was right. People don't give a fuck about the children. It is what it is. Peace.